Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to podcast 14, season 2, The Blue Collar Workers. I am, as always, John, Sean, or Yaka.
I'm Chris.
And this is Your Voice, Your Nation. We're going to get cracking today, barring the fact I was, for the first time on the podcast, slightly late by 5 minutes. He hasn't stopped fucking moaning about it. Yes, normally I'm the first person here to do all the setup, and I do give him a little bit of stick, just a little bit, about how late he usually is, but things being what they were.
Apart from last week, I'm literally here on time almost every time. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're not.
Just because I overslept last time.
I get stick for being late one day. Anyway,
because he gives me stick every day.
Yeah, this is true. It's very true. For me, I've got the editorial by Peter Jukes from the Byline Times. If you haven't seen this magazine, please buy it. I cannot tell you how informative it really is. Brilliant piece of written journalism. From the BBC, I've also got government considers financing support for JLR suppliers. The government is looking at ways to finance supplied companies of Jaguar's Land Rovers supply chains. The BBC is understood to be told. Russia will expand aggression beyond the Ukraine is not stopped. Zelensky has warned to the United Kingdom and BBC. And Chris Mason's punchy Lib Dems use reform as a calling to action. I thought that was quite important to mention today about how the Lib Democrats have just had their conference recently. And Sir Ed Davis has done quite well, in my opinion. We're going to get into that. On Chris's side,
I got the latest budget update of what's going to be happening in November. The latest scandal regarding the asylum hotels.
Oh, Christ.
HMRC's latest debt recovery plan. And Phillipson and Oxford College mess. It's just stupid. BT's latest complaint about the cost of UK business. And digital ID back in the limelight with a new twist.
Marvellous. Absolutely marvellous. I'm going to go on with this, the Byline Times, because I think it's a very important point when you read the editorial here. So I'm only doing one page here, so before anyone gives me complaints about how I'm pinching people, I just thought this was brilliant enough that I thought politically I'd bring it up to the podcast. After the iceberg of the conservative ship foundings by Peter Junkers. For us at Byline Times, reading the Guardian's recent revelations of the Boris files, if you haven't read that, Chris, you need to. A cache of nearly 2,000 leaked documents from Boris Johnson's Prime Ministerial office times whilst he was in Downing Street is rather like mapping an iceberg 5 years after it sunk the traditional Conservative Party and destroyed much of its probability of British state. When Johnson entered number 10 in August 2019, we warned, mainly from our reporting on his Russian connections and the unlawful dealings at the Vote Leave campaign, that he would be one of the most venal and mendacious love that word, mendacious Prime Minister in modern political history. I happen to absolutely agree with that. You need to look up what mendacious means. Just asking.
Not the way you say that.
And so far it came to pass, our coverage of PPEs, placement scandals during the pandemic, billions of non-compete contracts for medical supply equipment facilitated by VIP lanes, their preferred Tory associates and contracts. It's a memorable example of the public purse being emptied into private pockets. It is no surprise then that since leaving office 3 years later, Johnson has earned nearly $5 million in paid engagements meant for finances and hedge funds, fixing deals with foreign potentials. It's true. New light has been shed on the other key structures that led to this corruption in the first place. Details about Johnson's proximity to the press, his connections to Russia's oligarchs, and big tech. But it still leaves us asking, why weren't these more investigation of these harms at the time before the damage was done? This is a fundamental point. I'm not going to do the whole article because I genuinely do believe people should read the Byland Times. If you haven't, please do. It's fantastic. It's only for £5, but they only come out once a month. So I think it's well worth it. The point he's making is that we have moved from Maggie Thatcherite behaviour to mega, and we are sliding in that direction continuously. And this is the reactionary politics has taken over a vast section of our country and has done enormous levels of damage. Your opinion? What I've read?
It's about on par with what I'm thinking.
2,000 fucking files.
That doesn't surprise me, to be quite honest, in this day and age.
Boris fucking Johnson is probably the biggest criminal prime minister we've ever had. Modern history.
No, hang on. The day they elect a prime minister which doesn't have some sort of scandal behind him with files coming out after he's ended term, will be the day we will have celebrations.
Tell me about it. I mean, the editorial by Peter Junks is amazing. Just buy this page here, and I'm not really one to promote any other type of press barring ours. Buy that just for that article. Finish reading that. I think it will be well worth it. It's well written. The whole thing in the Byland Times is brilliantly written. I just find that it's really hard to find objectionable journalism in today's society. A lot of British journalism is very, very left or right wing. It's hard to find something neutral. And it was that rare moment whilst I was perusing the newspaper stand, looking at the headlines and going, oh, God, I'm going to have to probably talk about them. And then I saw this and it kind of took me by surprise. And I fundamentally do believe that we should have an accountation of about how much Prime Minister Boris Johnson was involved with the advertising gifts he gave to the reporters and the editors, yeah, and his closeness to one of the Kremlin's oligarchs, and the criminal fucking damage that Boris Johnson did to this country during COVID. People need to talk about this. He needs to be criminally investigated, in my opinion, because the amount of lives that were lost during COVID, he should be criminally investigated as a prime minister, especially for Partygate. I think that was horrific, absolutely horrific. I mean, I know people think we're still going on about it, but that's the importance of how we move. Yeah, I've got expensive chocolate today, and as Chris said, you didn't pay for that, did you? It was a gift. Go on then, my boy, your turn.
Latest budget update, which is interesting. Bear in mind, this is from the Daily Mail, so do please take it with a
big pinch of salt.
With a pinch of salt. Opinion: budget will hammer pensioners, landlords, and small businesses.
Hammering landlords is not a bad thing.
I remember this was a slideshow, not a full page article. Go back a page, you pain in the ass. Maximize it. There we go. Control. We are not going to be coming back with more tax increases. Rachel Reeves assured the nation days after she had broken Labour's solemn election pledge not to whack up taxes in her first budget last October. Now the Chancellor is in the process of breaking the second promise too, with the government in a frantic scramble to find another 20 to 30 billion in extra taxes on top of the tax burden that is already the highest in more than 70 years. 2 points before you move on. Mm-hmm. One, that tax burden is so high because of the borrowing the Conservatives left us with. Two, the tax system is massively corrupt. We speak about this all the time. Please carry on. There will be another substantial rise in taxes in November's budget for the second year in a row. It's not in doubt. All that is to be decided is what taxes will be increased and by how much. In left-wing circles, the air is thick with all manner of wheezes to raise our taxes. The left is never happier than when it is conducting schemes to extract more tax, especially from folks it doesn't much like, such as landlords, the self-employed businesses, the wealthy and pensioners. None more so than the high tax enthusiasts of the Resolution Foundation, a left-wing think tank whose proposals for higher taxes deserve special attention. Now, I want to stop there for a moment. Some of these people haven't been taxed in a very, very long time. So remember, we've got the triple lock involving pensions, something I have always disagreed with because of the nature of our ageing population. And there's a fundamental reason why I think the triple lock should be seriously looked at. For value for money for the British tax-paying people. Remember, these pensioners, they paid in
now how they've come out, they continue to use their voting rights whilst demanding continual handouts as an ever-increasing cost of living goes up and the cost of medication goes up. So that's one point to hold. Second point to hold involved is landlords have near to no fucking tax bracket. Okay, so them getting a tax increase is very much a valid point. I think that you got to remember the Express is ignoring the tax bracket that landlords are. Small businesses, I have a problem with if that's where they're going. But that might be hyperbole.
Its denizens have infiltrated the Labour government at the highest level so much that Reeves increasingly looks like a mere husk of a chancellor whose sole remaining role is to deliver a budget devised by the Resolution Foundation alumni. The recent boss of the foundation, Torsten Bell, now work and pensions minister, has been tasked by Keir Starmer with playing a pivotal role in devising the November budget. He is assisted by Dan Tomlinson, who worked at the foundation for 6 years and is now the Treasury Minister. And I can't pronounce that name right. Baroness
Minashar Sheikh.
Shafik. If we slaughtered your name, we do apologise. Who chaired a flagship report for the foundation calling for higher taxes on inheritance, land, and property. She recently became Stammer's personal economic advisor. This trio of high tax aficionados are together reporting direct to Stammer in the run up to the budget, much to Reeves' concern.
Let's be fair about this, yeah? The country has enormous black holes, tax black holes, that we keep finding that the fucking Tories left us. Remember, we are still in the first year of Labour. Mm-hmm. This is just the first year of Labour. We've got another 3 years. They are trying to fix the mess the Tories left us in. Remember that. We had 14 years of Tory. They borrowed, did this, didn't talk about borrowing. Remember, the papers weren't talking about the borrowing that the Tories were doing. They weren't even discussing it.
Yeah. When they run their ideas past the official number cruncher, the Office for Budget Responsibility, they will accept a sympathetic hearing. Its chairman, Richard Hughes, once worked, yes, you've guessed it, at the Resolution Foundation. So what the foundation proposes has to be taken seriously, and what it advocated this week was truly scary. A 30 billion package of tax rises whose centerpiece was a 2p rise in basic rate of income tax, taking it to 22%. True, this was to be offset by 2% cut in the employee national insurance contributions, but that will still increase the overall tax by 6 billion a year because more people pay income tax than national insurance.
The problem, what everyone's realising, is we are still dealing with the after effect of 14 years of Tory.
And it'll be largely pensioners who don't pay NSI but are liable for income tax footing the extra bill.
See, and again, the triple lock-in is what I have a problem with.
Not surprised.
Because it's a system that it was built in the 80s, Chris, and we're in 2020. It's a 40-year-old system, the triple lock-in system.
And just for good measure, the foundation also proposed freezing income tax thresholds for another 2 years, raising a further 7.5 billion a year, a double whammy for pensioners, since the extra freeze on these thresholds means many pensioners are of modest means on a state pension plus a small private pension who previously paid no tax are already in the 20% income tax bracket, and more would be dragged in by a continual freeze, exactly what the socialists or left wing about penalising pensions on low incomes escape me. Perhaps there is a clinical political calculation. Old folks tend not to vote Labour these days, so what's the government going to lose?
That's garbage. That's absolutely garbage. I don't buy that. The older generation vote for what they think is in the best interest of their country and their children and their grandchildren. I don't buy this. So again, he's lying. The fact of the matter is we wouldn't have a Labour government if some part of the older community did not vote for Labour to this generation. They represent, I think, about 12 or 13% of the country, Chris.
Yeah.
You can't vote a Labour government in without the elders having some point in this.
It says, but old folks do vote in vast numbers, and the Resolution Foundation tax plans would seem to me to be a recruiting segment among pensioners for Nigel Farage's Reform Party. The foundation may be good at formulating new ways to tax us, but it is lousy at politics. Stammer would do well to recognise that. It is not good at economics either. Its tax plans would also hit landlords and self-employed at a time when we need more rented accommodation, more enterprise, more strivers. It wants 6.5 billion more tax on a small business, 3.5 billion from a new levies on sugar and salt, and 4 billion from higher taxes on flights, shipping, and electrical vehicles. Sorry, Ed, net zero zealot Miliband. Nothing, it seems, is safe from the Resolution Foundation's tax jihad.
See, why are they using Islamic language?
I don't know why they're using.
You see, there's no reason for that. We're having a political conversation, and now they bring in Islamic language. This is why I fucking hate that newspaper. What the fuck has the British Muslim community got to do with this?
No, there's something unpleasant, preternaturally, about all this taxing of life's few pleasures. More importantly, it is economics of the madhouse to pile even more taxes and costs on the people and businesses where economic growth is already faltering and inflation too high. The Resolution Foundation tax plans would condemn us to low growth and high inflation for the foreseeable future. We're already heading that way. This week, the left-leaning Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, a club of rich countries that advances high tax, high public spending and growth, propelled by net zero investments, all policies of Labour government, was forced to admit the UK inflation remained stubbornly high while economic growth was faltering.
And again, I'm the general writing point that goes on to this is there is an attack given to a think tank. Every single party has their own think tanks. The Tories have their own think tanks, but you don't hear the right-wing press, which is the bulk of the British press, even talking about the right-wing think tanks. But the left think tanks are saying that we have 13% of countries about great. I think it is. I don't even know. I'm going to look up how many pensions.
True, it has nudged up its prediction for UK growth this year from 1.3% to 1.4%. The sort of meaningless tinkering economics love, but it expects UK growth to slump back to only 1% next year, on a par with the slow coaches of Europe, and even that might be optimistic given the scale of growth, destroying tax raises coming down the pike. Its predictions on inflation are even worse. It was 3.8% last month, and the Bank of England thinks it could be 4% this month, twice the official 2% target.
There are 13 million pensioners in the country.
That doesn't surprise me.
Since there's 13 million pensioners, we have grown a pension population because of our continuous aging, and the cost of looking after these aging people, this aging population, has gone up. We've had to open multiple smaller surgeries to provide for this growing elderly population that isn't generating wealth, so therefore it costs more to look after them. So yes, their pensions should in some way be used. And the triple locking is mentally fucking retarded. Chris has said many times on this podcast, have other money outside your state pension. It is not enough in today's society.
No, you need your own private or investments, or whichever way you decide to get extra money. The OECD expects it to average 3.5% this year, which it points out would be the highest inflation in the G7 club of the world's biggest market economies. It points specifically to mounting food price pressure and high energy costs, both which mean the squeeze on living standards will continue, so not to the best time to clobber people and businesses with even more higher taxes. Yes, Reeves has a massive black hole to fill, this time entirely of her own making.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Fuck it. I'm tired of the right-wing press saying that.
In our public finances, and given where we are, some tax rises are inevitable in November.
The reality is it's not. Why is the first year of Labour being criticised for everything the Tories left us?
That doesn't surprise me past the book.
It's fucking lazy reporting.
But the Resolution Foundation and it would seem the government will not coincidence cuts in public spending for making any kind of contribution to balancing the books. Spending cuts are difficult, but overall public sector productivity is down 5% since the pre-pandemic 2019 NHS, which has had tens of billions pumped into it in recent years, is 20% less productive than it was before the pandemic. If you wonder why we pay more and more for less and less in public sector, these figures are the explanation in an already inefficient public sector as it's steady to get more inefficient. We are awash in largely unproductive jobs. 15 years ago, fewer than 300,000 people working in human resources. Today, it is more than 450,000. This rise is caused by government regulation. Sorry, but you've seen there's been billions pumped into the NHS in recent years. I have a distinct feeling they're trying to target frigging making it a private sector.
Oh no, they have been. That is the entire right of our country, is to sell off any national assets.
Screw
and
you.
to continue selling off national assets.
No, you keep them and invest in them. We've until recent years, we've had one of the best public health sectors going. Until people started going, oh, it isn't effective. We need to make cuts here, left, right, and centre.
Oh, absolutely. And then started selling off parts of the NHS, privatising.
Instead of going, okay, why is it being ineffective? Because I can guarantee it's being ineffective because it hasn't been, one, invested in, maintained, or properly staffed. I could guarantee you sort those three things out, it'll become massively
and you prevent private companies from
effective.
being able to privately sell off bits of the NHS towards private companies. You reverse what the Tories have done 14 years of.
I say, before you turn around and say it's ineffective, research, look into why it's ineffective. And I can guarantee you it's the three things they do not want to spend money on.
Absolutely.
But that'll be it for now on that one.
Over on my side, government considering financial support for JLR suppliers from the BBC. The government is looking at ways to finance support the companies in Jaguar's Land Rover's supply chain, the BBC has understood. JLR halted their car production at the end of August after a cyber attack forced it to shut down its IT networks. Its factories remain suspended until next month at the earliest. Fears are growing that some suppliers, in particular the smaller firms who solely rely on JLR's business, could go bust without support. One idea being explored is the government buying the company's parts and supply build to keep them in business until JLR production lines are up and running again, and then selling them back to JLR probably cheaply. COVID-style furlough schemes is also among the options being considered. Sources have told the BBC the options would see the government subsidise workers' wages or provide governments-backed loans to suppliers. However, the ministers have ruled out a furlough scheme given its likely cost and a desire to keep people working rather than the opposite. The Business and Trade Select Committee is due to meet on Thursday afternoon to hear testimonies from business and JR supply chains. This is an important factor, but we have to realise that cyber attacks are going on.
I was going to say, wasn't that due to cyber attack the reason why they've gone wrong?
Yeah,
because that's what happened to M&S as well, wasn't it?
We are suffering criminal cyber attacks. And I'm under no illusions that this is probably coming from places like Russia. Russia is still very much a threat to these United Kingdoms in terms of cyberspace, in terms of economical value, in terms of costing us as much money as they can. So
trying to put a dent on our books so we can't
help Ukraine.
Ukraine.
And Eastern Europe. There is a method behind this. This is not an illusion. I am genuinely quite well aware that the Russians are up to something.
It may not be Russia. It could be someone else.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Russians. There's no justifiable reason to be fucking around with JLR or M&S unless you're trying to damage the British purse.
Oh, there's loads of people that will probably envy our way of life and want to fuck you up.
No, most countries don't. Countries don't. Because these are country-level attacks. Britain is not an important player anymore. Remember, we are not the power we used to be when we were kids.
No, we need to sustain ourselves to screw everybody out. That's my opinion.
I know. You've said it more than once.
Can't help anyone else until you help yourself.
Exactly. No, I agree with that. I do agree with the sentiment, but I don't agree with we shouldn't help people. I agree that we need to fix us first, and we have got the primary problems.
We should put ourselves first, and then everyone else second.
Yeah. And that should be that's not even selfish. That's you can't fix the world if you've got your own.
To me, that's common sense.
Yeah. if you want to fix the world, you have to fix yourself first.
That statement relates all the way down the line, from world economics all the way to your own stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
fix you, then you can fix others.
Yeah.
There's no inappropriation of that behaviour in that regard. I mean, I personally think that this is an important factor, that JLR business needs support, especially their supply chains, because of it. Has MS picked up from that? Do you know?
it's recovered.
It's recovered. So they're a food chain. It's probably easier for them to do so.
It's the food chain that kept them afloat.
Oh, fucking hell. That's good. It's damn good. Because, I mean, it's a scary situation when you've got two major companies, because Land Rover is not something small. It's one of the biggest car manufacturers still remaining in the country. And that is an important industry that employs and has employment multiple other companies around it. And we need to protect those. Furlough would be expensive. I do think the government should just buy the supplies off of the companies, hold them in lieu, obviously. And then when Land Rover's ready, sell it to Land Rover. So probably for a small profit, because they've done the governmental job. But yeah,
it'll still be a cheaper price than them doing it in whatever way
they're them losing the small companies that they need to run their business with, because they're literally just holding it together. Anyway, what we got on your other side, my boy?
Latest scandal with the asylum hotels.
Christ, here we go again. Fucking hell.
I thought this was a lovely thing. The Home Secretary has ordered an urgent review
Stop. Who's this from?
Independent.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, always ask these questions.
The Home Secretary has ordered an urgent review into the use and cost of taxi ferrying asylum seekers between hotels and to and from medical appointments.
Christ.
Shabina, I can never pronounce the name, so I do apologise.
Yeah. Shabana Mahmood.
Call follows an investigation into life inside some hotels, which found one migrant sent on a 250-mile journey to a GP appointment that cost the House of Office £600. Yeah.
Now that's a waste of money.
Yeah. In other cases, migrants are transported hundreds of miles across the country via taxi when they are moved between hotels. But it is currently not known how much the Home Office spends on each year taxiing migrants to and from appointments and between hotels. Asked about the revelation, part of a BBC investigation into life inside the asylum hotels, Housing Minister Matthew Pennycook said, "The Home Office don't have figures. I don't want to get into the specifics of that case, but it is very questionable why such a long distance was travelled in that instance." I'm sorry, just on that paragraph alone, he doesn't want to get into those figures, and he doesn't know that how much is being cost. That shows there is a freaking break in the chain of command, and within the running of that.
I think there might be many. Was there medical factors around this? You see, there's got to be careful about this, Chris.
Yeah.
If there is a medical factor that a specific doctor has the ability to deal with whatever, remember,
it's just for a GP appointment, general practitioner appointment. So it wasn't even a specialist appointment.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Okay. You see, now, always give air of caution, Britain.
Yeah. A Home Office spokesperson has said that Home Secretary has asked the department to urgently look into the use of taxis to transfer asylum seekers. The BBC's investigation also found migrants cooking meals in dangerous conditions in hotel rooms, with electric hobs set up in showers and fire alarms covered up. And it uncovered widespread illegal work, with migrants admitting to taking jobs in the dark economy for as little as £20 a day to send money home to their families and pay off people smugglers.
And again, the government is not taking these people smuggling problems. So this is one of those criticisms I have about the Labour Party. They don't take the people smuggling problems serious.
Yeah. Anger has mounted at the government's use of hotels to house asylum seekers, with Charity of Refugee Council warning they have become a flashpoint for community tension and cost billions to the taxpayer. Critics have also warned that they leave migrants trapped in limbo, while protesters have gathered outside hotels housing asylum seekers, calling for them to be shuttered. But until the BBC investigations, little was known about the extent of which taxpayer fund taxes were being roiled upon relied upon to transport migrants around the country. The Conservatives accused Labour of writing a blank cheque for their illegal immigration. Labour has promised to end the use of asylum hotels by 2029, with Rachel Reeves promising the move will save $1 billion per year. But Mr. Pennycook on Tuesday was unable to guarantee the target will be met, inciting only the party is determined to reach it. The former top civil servant in the Home Office has already cautioned ministers over the target, warning ups and downs could throw it off course. From news to politics, travel to sport, culture to climate, The Independent has a host. Oh, no, that's just no bit. Well, by the looks of it, that lovely little promise of getting them all ended by 2029 isn't going to happen. And that's still 4 years away.
Yes, because remember, there's large amounts of people you got to move, Chris. You can't just, for human rights reasons, you can't just shove people into barracks. Remember, they're going to get these military barracks up and running yet. Have you ever been to a military barrack area before it opens? I used to do chefing work in that area. You turn up and the place is a fucking freezing frostbox, mate. There's no power, there's no electricity, there's no heating. They have to turn all these systems on. Do you know what I'm saying? So these bases are left in shutdown mode. As someone who used to be a travelling chef,
I used to train for the local football team on an RAF base.
Yeah, and that was because that was an operating base.
Yeah,
they're talking about the shutdown bases. So when they're talking about,
I don't know if you say operating base. I never saw anyone bloody there.
Yeah, operating as in the power zone, mate. So it doesn't matter if there's someone there. There's operating power running through it. It's a very particular point. The British military has a lot of bases that are just not online. They don't have power, electric, water. They've all been shut down. They're just buildings in the middle of freezing fucking areas. And if they're going to move these people there, they have a human right to make sure there's running water, power, electricity. And that will take time. That's why they've said 2029. And I actually agree with that, because it needs to be done in a humane manner, Chris. Otherwise, we're going to have a fucking humanitarian crisis on our hands. And the last thing Britain wants to be accused is that. Because it'll get messy. Really fucking messy.
It's just a shit show.
Yeah, but remember, these asylum seeker problems, they were inherited. We've only just had a year and a bit of the Labour Party. Many of these asylum seekers have come during the Conservative, during Rishi Sunak's time, during Boris Johnson's time. Many of these refugees have been here for very, very long times. Remember, it takes years to get one of these cases through. Yes, there needs to be an improvement in the processing. It's one of those things Chris said. You need to streamline the acceptability. Got any criminal records? Can prove that you've got no criminal records. If you can't and you don't have paperwork, gone. Don't have that, gone. Don't have that, gone. You need to streamline the system, and that is the fundamental problem we have with a great deal of our asylum seekers. It's not streamlined. You've also got lawyers taking advantage that are taking British taxpayers' money when they take these for human rights cases. There is a case for that. I'm not even a right wing, and I'm telling you that the lawyers are taking the fucking piss. Now, me and Chris will say that. We're very much centralists in that regard. Yes, there is a measure of human rights that are going to be along to avoid abuse, but there is also a measure of someone is trying to make this into an industry. The lawyers are making that a money sink for themselves.
Just need someone to come in and just tighten that rope and say, nope, I've had enough.
Yeah, because it's costing Britain billions, and we don't have billions to be washing away. Russia will expand its aggression beyond Ukraine if not stopped, Zelensky warns. Vladimir Putin, from the BBC, Vladimir Putin will keep driving the war forward wider and deeper if he is not stopped, Ukraine's President Zelensky has warned. Speaking at the UN General Assembly in New York, Zelensky said more countries would be met with Russian aggression unless allies displayed a united front and ramped up support. He said all nations were threatened by a global arms race as military technology advanced, adding that weapons decide who survives, and calling for global rules on AI. His comments come as after US President Donald Trump shifted his position on the Russian-Ukrainian war, saying for the first time that Ukraine could win back all of its land. Zelensky criticized international institutions, suggesting they are too weak to offer Ukraine safe guarantees, adding it apparently referenced to NATO that being part of a long-standing military alliance doesn't automatically mean you are safe. We are now living through the most destructive arms race in human history, he said. He argued that stopping Russia now was cheaper than wondering who will be the first to create a simple drone carrying a nuclear warhead.
Oh, damn.
I remember drones, if AI driven, it only has to go wrong once, and that's a nuke being dropped. Zelensky calls for international rules around AI and its role in weaponization, and said that the development of automated drones and unmanned planes represent far greater risk than traditional warfare.
Hang on. I'm sorry, I just got a massive flash of Terminator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even need to be the AI trying to kill humanity. It only needs to be a rogue communication or a rogue jamming signal, and then it drops its nuclear payload. That should be fucking terrifying.
And the fact that people are thinking of sticking a nuke on a drone.
On anything remote. Tells you the level of warfare we're heading towards, people.
It's self-destruction warfare.
Yeah. The Ukrainian leader also warned that Europe cannot afford to lose Moldova, which lies between Ukraine and EU members Romania, to Russian influence. He said the West has missed a chance to save Georgia and Belarus from Putin's orbit. On Thursday, the pro-Europe EU president of Moldova, Mayor Sulus, accused the Kremlin of pouring hundreds of millions of euros into Moldova in an attempt to instigate violence and spread fear. Voters in the former Soviet Republic go to the polls on Sunday, aimed at what the BBC investigation found to be a barrage of disinformation spread by networks with ties to Moscow. Last week, Estonia and Poland requested a consultation with other NATO members after Russia violated its airspace in separate incidents. Romania, another NATO member, also said Russian drones breached its airspace. Estonia seeks NATO consultation after Russian jets violated airspace. Ukraine in maps tracks the war with Russia. Ukraine says that they kill massive amounts of Russian aerial units all the time, but they're continuing to move in towards drone warfare. Early on Tuesdays, following his speech to the UN, Trump said NATO nations should shoot down Russian planes breaching their airspace following the recent incursion by Russian fighter jets and drones. You see, now that's what Russia was waiting for. I think that's what he was. He was waiting to see if Trump would actually say something to his allies. And he's now just told you, shoot the fuckers down. Now he won't. He won't send fighter jets. It will be the manless drones and make a little bit of noise about it, saying it was a misunderstanding, because he wanted to test whether or not the West was going to do something. And now the West is starting to react. We need to do more. We need to do a hell of a lot more in this regard. I just have this insane idea that we are inching away to more and more destruction because of the provocations that Russia is giving us. And it isn't like I'm anti-Russian. I think the Russian people are lovely human beings.
We are teasing World War III.
We are. Absolutely. And we need to be aware of this. This backwards and forwards going on from Russia testing airspaces is a serious business. Now, I've got a good friend, Count Deadliest. He says we're nowhere closer than we were last year. I don't agree with that. I believe that the testing of airspace is serious step. That's first step towards theoretical warfare. Yeah? He's violated Poland. He's violated Estonia. He's violated Romanian airspace. He's testing the fucking waters. We need to be solid with our allies. We need to be concise.
Which, if he's testing the waters, that makes me think, what has he got in his back pocket that he hasn't chucked out yet?
Not much. That's the thing. If we're to believe what the arms industries are saying, is he's fully committed to Ukraine, and he's struggling considerably. He's trying to act bigger than he is, but we need to be resolute about incursions into our airspace. Poland needs to shoot down the Russians. The Russian fighter jets come into his airspace. They don't need to escort them out. They need to hit them with fucking SAM sites. Splatter them across the fucking sky so that the Russians understand that that's a no-no. I do. I encourage the Polish to just blow the fuckers out the sky.
That would have been my first bloody right. Oh, you're in my airspace. Fuck off.
Yes. This touchy-feely approach with Russia does not work. Blow the fuck... Murder these fighter pilots. Stone cold dead. Putin will get the message.
You'd be like, shit, I'm not going to try that.
You know what I'm saying? We blow them straight out the fucking sky. We obliterate them. We stop fucking around. We wipe them off the map.
You need to just send them a cold, hard message. Fuck off.
Yeah, and that should solve any kind of westward thinking of soft power of Russian orbit that has been mentioned by Zelensky. I fundamentally believe we need to be unafraid to actually say this. Shoot the fucking jets down. I'll give Trump his due, and I don't generally like Donald Trump. He's a bit too reactionary to my taste. But to describe Russia as a paper tiger, it is a paper tiger because most of Europe is too soft. The Europeans really don't want conflict. They're not a conflict-driven people these days.
And it doesn't stop them giving a hard message saying, no, we don't want this, but we will stamp on you if you start.
Yeah. And I think I'm telling you this now because the Kremlin gets this opinion that it's not a tiger, it's a bear, and there are no such things as paper bears. But let's be quite fair about this, Russia. If Poland was to blow up your entire air force from within Poland, shooting SAM sites, you'd be screaming right now. Poland alone can cut off the Russian air force.
I said, yeah, with the amount they got, frigging
Russia's SAMs and fighter jets could wipe out the Russian air force.
If you're struggling to take Ukraine and you try starting on Poland, your army gone.
Yeah. Just to retaliate via air force, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, literally, Poland will take no crap, be like, no, you're not taking us, and they will flatten you. And that's just by using their air force. God help if they bring in the rest of it.
I fundamentally...
Poland's gone from being a little softy to a hard ass.
Yeah, no, they have, and they've been building their military non-stop. I just think that if Poland retaliates, has consultation with its European allies, ignore the Americans for the time being, and the next time that Russia enters NATO airspace, blow them straight out the fucking sky. A couple of dead Russian pilots will send the message to Moscow very clearly.
It could also backfire and start World War III.
It won't. Putin has more to lose than we do.
Hasn't he got? Is it North or South Korea with Kim Jong-un? I can't remember which one he runs.
He runs with North Korea.
He runs North Korea. And he on Putin's team.
Of course, it's him and China. Yeah. But they're not. China will never want. Remember, China does not want nuclear war.
China doesn't just want war
because it's unprofitable to the Chinese people.
I was going to say, think how much they would lose. Just financially.
China. Let's just say that there's a limited war, a nuclear war inside of Europe. China loses hundreds and hundreds of billions. There's no way they want to lose that kind of money.
I'm going to say they will struggle financially.
And China is the economical power propping up Russia. There is not going to be a nuclear war in that regard. China has too much to lose, and Russia will lose everything. It knows that. Putin cannot survive any nuclear war with the West. He knows that. There won't be any nukes. There'll be threats, there'll be postures, but the missile barrage that wipes out his air force that's in Ukraine would be a very powerful message. Violate Polish airspace again, mate, we kill your fucking air force. I think that should be the message that NATO should say. And I think, personally, I think the Polish defense minister should say that. Violate our airspace again, we put down your fucking sickly dog of an air force like it is. Nothing more than a sickly dog. Problem solved. Because
test us, your air force fucks off.
Exactly. It will be absolutely obliterated on a next scale level. Anyway, back over to you, my boy.
HMRC's latest debt recovery plan.
Oh God.
Yeah, HMRC to take cash directly from these accounts in the new crackdown from today. HMRC has announced resumption of the program that allows it to directly recover money owed from debtors' bank accounts. The policy, which was put on hold during the COVID-19 pandemic, has been restarted in a test and learn phase. HMRC continues this week. Debt recovery of debts is utilized when an individual or business can afford to pay their dues but are opting not to, according to the new revenue body. In the spring statement, the government stated the HMRC would resume DRD for those who choose not to pay. This permits HMRC to reclaim money owed by instructing banks and building societies to directly debit a debtor's account and or funds held in cashless. It may be employed where debtors owe £1,000 or more, where certain safeguards are in place to ensure the debtors do not experience undue hardship, and that equated protection is provided for vulnerable customers. These safeguards include only taking action against those who have established debts who have exceeded the timeline for appeals and who are consistently ignoring HMRC's attempts to make contact. Yeah. Anyone disputing the amount owed has the automatic right to appeal, the revenue body stated. The safeguards also stipulate leaving a minimum of £5,000 in a debtor's account, so the revenue body does not freeze money needed to pay wages, mortgages, or essential businesses or household expenses. HMRC stated the web on its website, the vast majority of taxpayers pay their taxes in full and on time, but the minority choose not to pay, even though they have means to do so. Dawn Register, a tax dispute resolution partner at BDO, commented, given the pressure on public finances, it is clear the HMRC is determined to get tougher on those who can pay but don't pay. For those who are struggling financially, we would always recommend that they implore time to pay options to allow them to pay in installments. HMRC needs to strike the right balance between supporting businesses and individuals in a general financial difficulty while being assertive with those who can afford to pay but choose not to.
Not paying the fucking tax man.
A HMRC spokesman said most people pay tax on time and in full, but it's right that we seek to recover tax from the tiny majority who have the funds to pay but refuse to. These powers are subject to robust safeguards, and we continue to support customers who need help with their payments. So basically what HMR is saying is, if you're struggling, speak with them. They're more than flexible to sort out an installment plan so you can pay your debts. But for those that have it and they're just going, no, fuck you, you ain't getting my money, good luck. Yeah.
Taxman does not like not paying what you're getting paid.
I can tell you now, the taxman will chase you down. They will send bailiffs, police, whatever they need to.
The taxman.
It's just, there's no point. It's adding extra hassle to your stuff when all you have to do is pay the bill.
Or come up with an arrangement to pay the bill.
Yeah, or an arrangement to pay the bill, whichever one works, because obviously people's financial situation differ from everything else. But I revert back to stuff I say always have a backup.
And always pay your tax man. Got him a funny motherfucker.
Yeah.
There are only two things guaranteed in this world, death and taxes.
If you pay the one, you won't have an issue with it. And the other one, it'll come to everybody.
It comes to everybody. Everyone shall taste death, so my prophet said. Peace and blessings upon him.
Unless they develop an actual proper immortality.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. And so if it did, it's not going to be affordable by me and you or anybody under £1 billion.
I could guarantee they'll offer it to people which could turn around and pay the monthly installment for the entirety of their own mortality.
Yeah, billionaires.
Yeah.
Not me and you.
That would be us as well. Come on. Have you not watched Alien Earth?
No.
No, that actually explores the possibility of immortality.
Fucking hell.
But by synthetic means. So transferring your consciousness into a synthetic body.
No. I've got a taste, feel.
You can still do all that, apparently, with the technology they got there.
Jesus.
Develops the possibility of enhanced humanoids.
Jesus, just Jesus.
That's well into the future. I'll be dead before that.
Yeah, I'm saying. We're already middle way. We're already in our 40s.
I'm aiming for 120.
You can see he's in his 40s. Me, you wouldn't be so sure.
Because I'll deal with him.
Don't be. I'm not the biggest stress in your life. You're dreaming if you think I'm your biggest stress.
You're my consistent stress, not my biggest stress.
I haven't threatened to kill anybody recently. I don't know what you're worried about. You haven't had a 3 o'clock in the morning phone call from me, Chris. I need you to bring the car and some carrier bags, and that's when you know something's wrong. Lots of midliners and carrier bags.
I'll be going. Hang on, let me just quickly go buy a car. I'm not using my own.
I need a cheap car. Oh Christ! Oh, but yeah, I just
need to pay the tax man.
Yeah, tax man has to be paid. Yeah. That's not even open for conversation, relatively speaking. Anyway, last article for me. Chris Mason, punchy Liberal Democrats use Reform UK as a call to action. Sir Davis' speech to close the Liberal Democratic Conference was punchy. Here was the leaders knowingly painting in a primary colours and determined to be heard in our noisy politics. This was a gathering of party willings to double down on bringing more aggression in the making of its arguments. In particular, it focused on the Reform leader Nigel Farage. But by many counts, there were at least 30 references to Farage, far more than the Prime Minister or the Conservatives. Senior Liberal Democrats spot an opportunity right now, a willingness to take on Reform and Donald Trump in a way Labour and the Tories either can't or won't. And the party is using the reform leader as a funding and recruitment sergeant. Fantastic. This is what we need to be dealing with. They hope the prospects of Farage's premiership will motivate the activists in efforts and donations in a way a prospecting Labour or Conservative victory might not do. But the Liberal Democrats realise too that reform and rise has a cost when it comes to the squeeze of attention paid to Sir Ed Davis and his team. Hence their noisy protests and allegations, repeated against by Sir Ed in his speech about the relative coverage and scrutiny different parties receive from the BBC. And the BBC has. The BBC has really, and I've got something to say here. I'm going to put up this one once again. By the Times, please do, because there's a letter that was sent in here that I want to mention. Specifically, making the political weather. A lady, who I believe it's a lady, withheld her name. Dear editors, I recently filed a complaint to the BBC about the ridiculous amount of coverage and distracted lack of forensic analytics and questioning of the Reform UK and Nigel Farage in particular, and received the following response. It's the exact same boiler response I got from my previous podcast that I mentioned. The analysis that I think that this is a female because the name has been withheld. By this definition, justification, figures such as Hitler would have been received similar treatment. Would they not surely task the BBC, fair and impartially coverage, in its own words, should involve a forensic level of questioning and the building to account of any and every political lead, including Farage. If the BBC receives taxpayers' funding, they do. The content may be directly by opinion polls, which are not entirely accurate. I completely stand by who I think is a woman person involving the editorial about the grievance there. The BBC has whitewashed every complaint given about Nigel Farage's coverage because the opinion polls. Who pays for the fucking opinion polls? I get more and more irate with the BBC every fucking day. On top of the fact of the vast amount of kiddie fiddling that goes on, the disgusting sex offenders that come out of their fucking shows, every year we have another sex pest turning up.
And the fact we pay for their TV.
And we pay for the fucking licence. Jesus Christ! Superstar moment. Little bit of an Irishman. A'udhu billah. Forgive me, Allah. What the fuck are you playing at, BBC? There is no analytical searching involving this man. And it continues to have an echo effect for us. The corporation incidentally said that the continued attacks on the BBC journalism are completely groundless. No, they're not. They're not BBC. They're not groundless. What's groundless is your incompetence and realising that you would get a backlash for giving too much coverage to a closet fucking neo-Nazi and an ethno-nationalist. How did you not think that there was going to be a backlash about this? Do you think Britain is all this one white racist fucking country? Some of us had grandparents and their brothers died for liberty and equality.
And the fact that you turn around and literally rip every other party apart, why aren't you doing it to us?
Oh, I know, it's mad.
You think people wouldn't notice? You're delusional in yourselves, BBC.
I know.
Or it makes you question who's in charge of the BBC.
Yeah, no, that's a better question. Who's making these editorial decisions? Should more scrutiny be given towards the BBC's editorial and directorial leadership?
Is someone taking the pay pack from behind? Cover it up. Won't be surprised with everything else scandals they have.
I would say that the mood in the Liberal Democrats felt chirpy but businesslike. This time last year, just after a stokingly good general election results for them, their conference felt like a non-stop party. Not so now. Their political landscape has changed and changed quickly. Ed Davis pitched the Liberal Democrats are far from the only ones seeking to adjust and adjust quickly. Part of their strategy is to extend the appeal towards recent Conservative voters unattracted by both reform and Kemi Badenoch's leadership, Tory voters. Ex-Tory voters. Yeah, we're not even hiding who we were. We were voted to Tories when they were financially stable, when they were talking about keeping the country financially well.
When it actually made sense.
Yeah. When Johnson came in, we saw the fucking ship sinking. Went, hang on. This is looking a bit fucking dodgy. And then as it kept going that way, we're like, right, we're off. Like any sensible fucking Briton does. You take one look at the Conservative Party under Kemi Badenoch and it just looks like Reform Light. It really does. It's a dead party walking because of the amount of nationalism. They've abandoned the centre and we the centrists, don't want to be a part of that. We genuinely don't. The Liberal Democrat talks of a male voice choir and hogmanay, country shows at school fairs, fish and chips, village greens and cricket pavilions. It reminds me of Sir John Major's words more than 3 decades ago. 50 years from now, Britain will still be the country of long shadows on country grounds, warm beers, invisible green suburbs, dog lovers and pool fillers, and as George Orwell said, old maids bicycling to Holy Commune through the morning mist. And if we get our way, Shakespeare's still reading in every school. To be fair, I don't like Shakespeare. He really could do with getting out of fucking classrooms. He's been dead a few centuries these days.
It's classic literacy.
You ever fucking done any of his plays? When you were at school, did you do any of his plays?
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, I had to do technical, Joseph in the technical. Yeah, there are some things I don't necessarily agree with that.
Actually, I done Romeo and Juliet, and I studied Macbeth.
Both men today and in the 1993s are attempting to portray a pride in what they see as an understated patriotism and respect for traditions, a small c of conservatism. The Liberal Democrats hope that they can be seen to represent the clearest and most authentic big party antidote to reform. I believe they are. I believe that Liberal Democrats are the only party that can fight reform. And they need to fight the reform. Okay? Labour has lost its way. The Conservatives are reform light. Labour has basically turned to an authoritarian state. The Prime Minister has been hammering everybody who disagrees with government. Protesters wanting nothing to do with warfare are being banged up in prison these days. You know, these are the things we need to start really looking at. Who are the legitimate parties out there that will stand up to the evils of today? And let's be fair, that's the Liberal Democrats. The Green are too small. They're lovely people, the Green Party, but they're just too small. They have too little of an impact. And they are now fighting for space with Jeremy Corbyn's new party. They're still fighting with its infighting, right? I'm serious. The two most leftist parties in the country, the Green, are the ones that are going to hoover up the most, the far left. Let's be fair. Labour might die at the next general election in 3 years' time, in 2028.
Right. The rate is going, it will.
I don't think Keir Starmer will make it all the way there. I
think he's going to be replaced before the next election.
I do. Do you?
The way he's going, I reckon it'll be within the next year.
I don't know about the next year, but I definitely think he's going to go within the next election. I think that's entirely possible. I think our premises is our country is moving in the direction we've had enough of this authoritarian cunt. And he is authoritarian. He's the most authoritarian Prime Minister we've had in 30 years, including Boris Johnson. And I don't normally fucking credit Boris Johnson to be less authoritarian than him.
Bear in mind, obviously, I do think we do need a hard ass within the top C. But the hard ass, that's actually
that doesn't interfere in people's rights.
That's going to steer the country in the right direction.
Yeah.
But that helps stabilise and benefit the people. Because without the people, nothing exists.
Yeah, exactly. And the people are more than just white people. Okay, Britain has a population of nearly 19 million non-white people.
Before anyone turns around and goes, "Oh, you're all white men and everything," and when I mean people, I mean British people that have been born and raised here, that has a
British passport and
British passport and everything.
We're not about skin colour. Yeah. We are about the tapestry of our nation.
Yeah, Britain is Britain regardless of skin colour or anything else. Yeah, if you're part of Britain, born and raised here, you're British. Fair enough if you got descendants from Africa, Australia, wherever. Yeah. But if you've been born and raised here, you're British.
18% of our country is non-white. 18 fucking percent. And that has only increased by 4% in the last 50 years. 4% in 50 years.
Bear in mind that most white probably includes Polish and everything else, don't it, from European countries.
No, actually, no? The scary. No, you're getting the maths slightly squiff there. The Polish, Ukrainians, and white young Eastern Europeans, they are the mothers of today.
Yeah,
they're the mothers and fathers of today. The white population of white English are still the majority, but they are more than middle-aged to elderly.
So us,
me and you, and above us.
Yeah,
we are still the bulk of the white population. But the mothers and fathers of the next generation are of Eastern Europeans and Westerners, which I don't care. I don't give a shit, really. I just want my country to grow and be healthy.
That stands to my point of born and raised in England.
Exactly.
British.
Exactly. So these half Poles, half Ukrainians, half Czechoslovakians, they are all British citizens as far as we're concerned. And so are the half Bengalis and the naturally born Bengals. Like we're getting fifth generation Pakistanians now. They're as British as they come. You know what I'm saying? They are literally five generations. They watch cricket. They pay taxes.
I'm not gonna lie.
Cricket
they do tend to like the cricket, don't they?
I know. It bores the fuck out of me.
It bores the fuck out of me.
I'm not a cricket person. But cricket is the British Pakistani community.
Watching it bores me. Playing it, I don't mind playing it.
But sufficient to say, Britain is 18% non-white, and it has only climbed by 4 to 5%, I think it is, in the last 30 years.
To make an entire country non-white, that would take decades.
Centuries.
Centuries to do that. Is that it for you?
Yeah.
Since going on from that, I think I'll bring in they're now calling it the Super ID card, the latest digital ID. Public backs Super ID card. This is from the Independent as well. Yeah. Which could be used to report potholes, Tony Blair's think tank says. This is the one thing that slightly disturbs me. There is a growing public support for a super digital ID card, which would allow public to access public services and report problems in their local area, a new report from Sir Tony Blair's think tank suggests. The report, which surveyed more than 2,000 adults, saw 62% of people say they would favour introducing a form of digital ID alongside an app that would allow them to report such things as potholes and missed bin collections. 3/4 of those polled supported the use of such an app to track the progress of applications made to local authorities, while some 69% say they want it for voting or receiving official notifications, the Tony Blair Institute reported showed. Some 67% say they would use it to report potholes, while 61% say they would use the app to inform the council about missed bin collections or fly tipping. Ministers have recently said they are considering introducing a form of digital ID for adults in Britain, with the view that it could help tackle illegal immigrants who are working in the black economy. They have looked to the example of Estonia, which uses a mandatory ID card system, where Sir Tony was Prime Minister. When Sir Tony was Prime Minister, government attempted to introduce ID cards, but the scheme was quickly scrapped by the Tory Lib Dem coalition amid fears of an erosion of civil liberties. Alexander Lucid, Director of the Government of Innovation at the TBI, told The Telegraph, while helping to tackle illegal immigration is vital, use cards, we must get a digital ID that does more. After years of decline in public surveys, Britons are looking for common sense solutions to make the state work for them. They don't want to spend hours navigating optique systems or wrangling paperwork just to get services they are entitled to. Digital ID will dramatically simplify your experience of government. It will mean that reporting issues, applying for benefits, sorting your tax code, or booking appointments are all done in a few taps, or even automatically, not in hours, days, or weeks. It is a crucial foundation for the new model of service that come to you when you need them, based on fairness, control, and convenience. Earlier this month, the Home Secretary said she has always been in favour of ID cards. Speaking to broadcasters, she added, "In fact, I support that the last Labour government's introduction of ID cards. The first bill I spoke on in Parliament was ID cards bill, which then the Conservative Lib Dem coalition scrapped."
Bloody hell.
All right. There's only one thing I've got to say on digital ID cards. Yeah. How far they're going to take it.
We are continually running away from our liberty and equality.
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to say is if they could develop an app which allows you to report everything which they just said, like missed bin collections, where you can vote and all that sort of stuff, yeah? Why don't they just develop that app instead of trying to tag a digital ID card onto it?
The problem being is I fundamentally find that the more and more that the AI comes into play, the more we are losing our liberty. our autonomy.
And for those people that turn around and say, how are they going to know it's you? Your tax code or your national insurance number. You already have a national insurance number. So what's wrong with typing that in and then going, okay, it's this person, and they're reporting it to there? That doesn't mean you do need a digital ID card because you've already got a number associated with you. I
fundamentally find that we are moving more and more and more away from the liberal democracy that our grandfathers bled for.
Yeah. I can understand the need of trying to obviously make the government work for you. And the app sounds fantastic. I'm not going to lie. But the fact that you need a digital ID card to go with that app is what makes
morally bankrupt.
Which is making me question it, because the fact how far they're going to take it.
Yeah.
Because of the fact they've already got one form of identification with you, which is your national insurance number. Bear in mind, I'm just using that as an example, yeah?
Passports.
There's also passport
license.
and driving license, yeah? I'm just using NI numbers because everybody has it, basically.
Yeah, you get it when you're 16.
Yeah. So why not just use what you've already got, but improve on it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why do you need a digital ID card? Because to me, that just says a form of digital control.
Yeah. And we need to be wary of the loss of our liberty, Britain.
Yeah.
We need to be weary of this because it's going to damage your liberty and your equality. It's going, there is this slow erosion of liberty that is going on in Western European countries. And I need to stress that this is not a way forward.
I can understand people wanting to, obviously get the government working for them more. But let's be sensible. Like, we don't need to have a digital ID card for an app to work when we got, as I said, a national insurance number or a passport or a driving license, which all have numbers assigned to them. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All you have to do is just type that into the app and they know who you are. Yeah, already. You don't need a face to go with it.
Yeah, I have a fundamental problem with the amount of liberty that is being eroded from our society right now. And the Liberal Democrats are the only party that are really standing against this kind of big brother ideological position that the Labour and the right are both fighting. They're fighting for their own corners. Remember, Labour's doing it for their tribe and the Conservatives are doing it for their tribe. I don't want any of it. I don't want to be told what I can and can't eat. I want to make that fucking decision myself. I don't want to be told what I can wear. I don't want to be told what I can vote for. And I certainly don't want to be fucking told I need a digital passport to do fucking anything in my own country. You can get fucked. Genuinely. It's like we're entering the fucking Orwellian society.
The only way I would ever back a digital ID is if they put in stamped terms and conditions. They will not use your information for any nefarious purposes, which I know for a fact they would put it in, and then within 5 to 10 years they would write something else in that would wipe that first clause out.
See, that's the problem. You cannot trust these kind of megalomaniacal politicians.
And it'd be within the small little reword deviations further on in the attachments and updates and everything else, which would wipe out the first one. Yeah. Make it law that if it goes in this day stature.
We need to start writing laws in how AI is being operated across the UK and how it's being used to farm our data. But with that notice, I think that brings us to a conclusion, Chris. I think that was a rather successful day.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to place comments? Again, we don't listen to basic racist garbage, but if you've got consecrated ideas or intelligent conversations or questions, please do so. As always, I'm John, Sean, or Yaka, depends on who you're asking.
I'm Chris. Hope you have a smashing day.
And this is Your Voice, Your Nation. Assalamu alaikum.